Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 5 of the Millennials Are Old podcast, where two old millennials review movies that are neither meant for Zoomers, Boomers, or the greatest generation. Or, I guess, if you want to listen to this episode, you certainly can if you're part of that cohort, but that's neither here nor there. Uh, my name is Taylor. I feel like we've always forgotten to introduce ourselves, so we might as well just go
Oh,
for it.
yeah, we definitely have. My name is Brian. And speaking of old millennials, this might be the most old millennial relevant movie that we've done thus far.
Yes, because this movie we're reviewing this week is the movie The Faculty, released in 1998, which you might think, wait, a movie in 1998? Is that a millennial movie?
It's a
Maybe.
silent film.
Maybe, yes. It could be a millennial movie, but more than likely a Gen X movie. However,
Well, yes.
it was not appreciated in its time, but millennials and Zoomers in the last couple of years have started to appreciate it. So I think it technically now counts as a millennial film.
And I feel like there's probably a lot of people in our age group. Like, was this like a childhood film for you?
I remember watching this movie not as a childhood film, but probably as like a very young adult, late teenager, I would say.
Because for me, this is actually this was like a movie that my family, like my mom and my brothers, really liked, and we had like a recorded off TV copy when I was really little, and around like fifth and sixth grade, I'd watched a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my thought watching it when I was rewatching it this morning was that as a kid, I would think, even by fifth grade, I would see these teenagers and go, oh, these look just like adults to me. I can't tell the difference between these adults. And
Yeah,
watching
yeah,
it today, I felt so old, and I was like, oh, this
yeah,
is a film for children.
yeah. No, I felt the exact same way. Especially certain characters that I will get to very shortly. But for some of the details of this illustrious film, as I mentioned earlier, it was released in 1998. It was rated R, which I
That's
actually
so dumb.
I did not know it was rated R, but I think it was rated R primarily due to very slight bits of nudity and the swearing. I think that was
I
the
think
most.
it's that they say fuck. And I actually got it occurred to me watching it that they say fuck more than twice, specifically to get an R rating, I think.
Oh, that would make a lot of sense. That would make a lot of sense for
I think
sure.
they were doing it to aim for teenagers and they wanted it to be R rated instead of PG-13. So they stuck in a couple extra F bombs.
Exactly, but this movie is definitely not gory enough to get an R rating on its own.
Maybe even PG in the traditional sense of
Yeah,
PG
I
before it meant like a family, like a children's film. When it meant like Jaws or Raiders of the Lost Ark, this might be like a classic PG.
yeah, especially in the early '80s before PG-13 came out, this probably would be like a hard PG.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but this movie was directed by Robert Rodriguez, who is probably most known for films like Desperado, From Dusk Till Dawn, the Spy Kids franchise. The apparently I didn't know this was a franchise, but the Sin City franchise. There's multiple Sin City films.
Yeah, I don't think
Um,
anyone watched those sequels.
oh no, and talk about people don't watch sequels. He also directed the Machete franchise films because there's more than one
Oh, I haven't
Machete
seen
movie.
those.
And his highest grossing film, which I did not know he directed this, was Alita Battle Angel, which grossed like $250 million. Um,
I saw that. That was good. That was I mean that was it was it was what it was. But I did watch that recently because a friend of mine wanted to. It was a fun movie. It did feel like a Rodriguez film.
oh yeah, for sure. But he is definitely a very versatile director. Like Spy Kids, The Faculty, Desperado don't really have a lot in common. Uh,
Yeah, and although like I do think like when I was thinking about that this morning too. I guess this is pretty in line tonally with what he was doing around this time. Like the tone of this and Dusk Till Dawn, not super different.
I'm glad that was actually the comparison I would make out of his out of his filmography of these two films because they're similar, not the exact same movie, obviously, but similar enough.
B
You
movie
know,
revival, drive-in monster creature feature revival movies.
and a very small group of normal people having to navigate a world full of monsters.
Yeah, all with very distinct personalities that define them.
Oh, very much so, yes. Although in this one, there is not a character with a foot fetish, I don't think. But I
Well,
could
we
be
don't
wrong about
know.
that.
It's
That's
Gabe.
true. Oh
It's
yeah, for
Gabe.
sure. Gabe for sure. And Gabe, certain person who may or may not listen to this podcast, we know your fetish, buddy. Okay, I'm just gonna say that.
Oh, that guy. He all of them are his. He has all of them.
Oh shit. So the screenplay of this movie was written by Kevin Williamson, who is most known for writing this, what, 1, 2, and 4 of the Scream franchise. He didn't write 3 or 5, which I was kind of surprised he didn't write 5, because watching that movie recently, it had his imprint all over it. So I was kind of surprised he didn't. Although, to be fair, he did not write the worst Scream movie, Scream 3. So, hey, that's...
I feel like I must have seen 2 and 3 at some point, but the only one I've seen multiple times and I have real memories of is 1, which I've seen a lot, of course.
Oh, yeah, me too. I've definitely seen Scream 1 the most. I think I only saw Scream 3 like once, and I don't remember caring for it, but it's not a bad movie. It's just not nearly up to the caliber the other ones are by a lot.
It's kind of cool that, I mean, it seems like if he was doing this and Scream, they're kind of within a few years, although we'll get to that. So he had kind of almost like an ethos for a while about doing kind of like tongue-in-cheek, like kind of revivalist horror films.
Yes, very much so. I don't think that's what like kind of made his career, but I think it was definitely a very prominent highlight of his career, that's for sure. Speaking of another movie he wrote, he also wrote the movie I Know What You Did Last Summer. I don't believe he wrote that one. I don't believe he wrote the second, or definitely not the third one, because oh man, the third one is, I mean, the second and third movies are both messes, but the third one is a massive mess. Holy shit. That movie, the Hook Man, is a teleporting zombie. I'm not joking.
Amazing.
It's
so how is the first one? Is that good? I never watched that.
The first one is good, but it's the kid version of Scream, is the way I would describe it.
Yeah, that's what I always thought. It looked like Scream Light, so I kind of just avoided it.
It is the most PG-13 horror movie of all time. And I mean, to be fair, they're probably one of the most horrifying sequences in a PG-13 horror film I can think of, because Anne Heche is in that movie, and her real life tragic end recently was extremely horrific.
Yeah.
It was very jarring. I'm like, oh shit, that lady who horrifically burned to death in a car accident recently was in the
who I've not thought about in like 20 years, and then all of a sudden, Jesus Christ, that happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, rest in peace.
Yes, rest in peace. And he also
friend of the pod.
Yeah, friend of the pod, exactly. And he created the TV shows Dawson Creek and Vampire Diaries. So, which is very, very
that makes so much sense.
It really does. So, Kevin Williamson, you are the master of 90s teen culture, late 90s teen culture, I should say.
I learned this recently. Sorry, do you know what the theme song of Dawson's Creek is about? It's about a family who are dealing with the like son of the family dying overseas in a war, and then trying to cope with like get used to him not being alive anymore.
Oh,
is that weird?
Yeah,
I don't want to wait. Yeah, isn't that that's so, I don't know.
That's bizarre, weird. The length of this film is 104 minutes, so pretty good length for a sci-fi horror film, I think. Doesn't overstay its welcome, thankfully. Now, this movie had a budget of $15 million and grossed domestically $40 million and grossed in total worldwide $63.2 million, which at the time was considered a box office failure, unfortunately. Yeah. Although, I mean, a movie making 2.5 times its budget probably shouldn't count as a financial failure.
What the fuck is that?
But considering that Scream had a budget of around $15 million and grossed 3 or 4 times this amount, is considered quite the disappointment.
Although you do see every dollar on screen.
Yes, you do.
You really do.
Yes, you do. Including a lot of great practical effects, and some not great CG, but definitely not bad CG for the time.
But they're okay, because this is before everything was CG, and so they use them kind of sparingly.
Yes.
And around practical effects, so they're fine. It's not like, people probably can guess how we feel about lots of CG these days.
Yes, exactly, for sure. And also the last little factlet I have here is this movie has a 55% for both audience and critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. And the description, or the critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes, is probably the worst I've ever seen in my entire life. It is ripoff of other sci-fi thrillers, and that's literally it.
No, that's just that's because genres have tropes. They have things they harken back to. That's a part of this movie. I don't know.
Exactly. So when I read that, I was like, nah, that's bullshit.
It's just another critics not liking genre films thing. Sorry.
Exactly. Although the fact that it even got 55% was pretty shocking because I feel like this is a movie that at the time critics should have hated probably way more than they did. But
oh yeah.
All right. So next we're going to get into the faculty trivia. So this movie was the movie was set in Ohio, but it actually was filmed in Texas in a town called Lockhart, Texas. And the real Lockhart, Texas football team was used as the opposing team players in one of the scenes later on in the movie. And the city was told to show up for the football game and were given fake t-shirts to wear in the stands for that scene.
And they got to watch all their kids get fucking destroyed, their necks twisted or whatever the fuck.
Well, by Usher specifically.
By Usher, yeah. A bunch of parents are like, my kid's gonna be in the movies and they're seeing their fucking sophomore get murdered by Usher.
Yeah, right. A very skinny Usher.
Rules.
Very tiny Usher, too, at the time.
Oh, yeah. He looks like a eighth grader.
Yeah, he really does. Oh, shit. Next little trivia I have here is it was on the set of this film that Harry J. Knowles, who played a very small bit part in this movie, is one of the teachers. He was like the really big guy with like red hair and a beard.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. This is a quick editor's note from Taylor here. It came to my attention that Harry J. Knowles, who is the man we were just discussing in this segment of the episode here, has some very serious allegations against him that were allegedly done shortly after this movie was filmed in the years 1999 to 2000. We do actually make fun of him quite a bit in this episode, so I do take quite a bit of karmic justice in that. But at the same time, I did need to acknowledge that to the audience at home who may or may not know that information, that I did take note of it. So thank you very much for listening, and back to the review. First got wind of Peter Jackson making The Lord of the Rings into a movie. He urged Elijah Wood to go for a casting for it, even though the actor had never read the book. Which apparently
that guy was a Lord of the Rings fan. I'm shocked. He was a big Tolkien
nerd. Which apparently Elijah Wood duly did. He read the entire Lord of the Rings book on the set of this movie. Ignoring the news that Jackson was largely casting British actors and videotaped his own audition tape. So,
nice. I don't care about those movies, but just
I mean, I really can't imagine anybody else being Frodo in those movies. I think he's perfect for it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. No, I like Elijah Wood. I shouldn't. I feel like, but I do.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, yeah, he's adorable. What can I say? He's adorable little man who played everything from a precocious child in North to a horrific violent serial killer in the Maniac remake.
Oh, I got to see that.
That's a great movie for sure. It might even be better than the original Maniac.
No.
I'm serious. That's a great the Maniac remake's really fucking good.
Wow.
I'm serious.
All right, I will watch that soon then.
Very good. Next little bit of trivia I have here is Famke Jensen, who played the arguably groomy teacher who tried to groom Zeke. Although, to be fair, I think Zeke would have in real life, or I should say in the movie, is I think 19. So I don't really know.
Yeah, he's a super senior.
Yeah, I don't really know if that counts as grooming, but it's still weird. I'll just say that. But that would not do well in movies today. That would be a little weird. But Famke Jensen revealed in 2016 that she has actually never seen the movie. And she does not know her character's fate in the movie to this day.
That's lame.
Which is very lame, I think. Although, Famke Jensen, if you are single, please call me.
Yeah, she's fine.
For a 60-year-old lady, you are the hottest 60-year-old lady I've ever seen in my life. But
let me do that Google search real quick.
Exactly. Type. You know what's really funny? She played Jean Grey in the OG X-Men movies of the early 2000s. And she's supposed to play like a high schooler, and it's like, you are literally 40 years old playing a high schooler.
Come on. Well, so tangentially, speaking of that, I recently watched The Blob, the original.
Yeah.
And I just have to tell you about this.
Okay.
That's Steve McQueen. He plays like a 16-year-old in that movie. He looks 40.
Yeah.
The beginning of the movie, he gets pulled over by a cop for drag racing, and he's like, "Hey, son, isn't it school night? Shouldn't you be home?" And then the window was up, and it's Steve McQueen going, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. It's just, kid like me is just wild and rebellious. It's just, and then there's actual teens in there hanging out with him. It just looks like this old guy.
Yeah, this old guy grooming teenagers.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's hilarious. Next little trivia I have here is Elijah Wood, Clea Duvall, Jordana Brewster, and Sean Hatosi, who were various cast members in this film, appear in the music video for Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, performed by the very short-lived supergroup, Class of 99.
98. Yes. The greatest 90s band. The best grunge band.
And they only made one song, which was their cover of Another Brick in the Wall Part 2.
The best version of that song.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Could not agree anymore. In keeping with her character Stokely, Clea Duvall does not lip sync the lyrics with her co-stars in the music video. Which,
that's cute.
It's very cute. Exactly. I agree. Both the film debuts of Jordana Brewster and Usher. Apparently, this was Usher's first movie.
This was his breakout role. Him and Jon Stewart were both made big, successful actors in films after this. That's why you see them both in so many movies in the 2000s.
Exactly. That movie, Swing State or whatever.
Oh my God.
That movie definitely launched Jon Stewart's career for sure. He's never been in anything else besides this, Death to Smoochie, and that Swing State movie.
Half-baked.
And this is the last little trivia bit here. This is just pure nerd shit, but I thought I'd put it on here. Principal Drake, who was played by Bebe Neuwirth, gets her name from the Drake equation, which is used to estimate how much intelligent life there is in the universe.
That's neat.
That's what I think too. I was like,
yeah, I like shit like that.
So, and also, once again, before we get into it, except for the Harry Knowles character, every teacher in this movie is way too hot to be a teacher in Ohio.
Yeah,
in Ohio, we need to reiterate this. Although the movie was shot in Texas, but even then, still too hot for Texas. For sure. Yeah. All the teachers look like all the characters on King of the Hill. Mine. Yeah, exactly, right? Oh, Jesus Christ. Every teacher in Ohio looks more like Harry Knowles than Bebe Neuwirth or Robert Patrick.
Yes. Yeah.
But speaking of Robert Patrick, let's get into the synopsis. The movie begins with the football coach Willis, played by Robert Patrick, who was, of course, T-1000 in Terminator 2, who's being an aggressive dick to his athletes. And as he yells at all of his athletes, including Sean Hatosi's character, whose name I forget at the moment, Stan, that's his name. They all walk off, and you just see something off screen try to talk to him, and he's like, "What do you want?" And the movie fades to black. And that's our first little indication that there's something sinister brewing in this small Ohio town. One evening at Harrington High School in Ohio, teachers and Principal Drake, once again played by Bebe Neuwirth, leave after discussing the school's budget. And they're like, "We can't have air conditioning. That's too expensive."
Yeah.
We need to have
that all.
Yeah.
to our football team, we need to get them pads. We need to get them calendars with bikini babes that they can look at in the locker room.
Exactly. We need to save some money in the budget for our eventual grooming and allowing violence and bullying on school grounds lawsuits that are bound to happen.
And that's the last I want to hear about it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, shit. After the meeting, when Principal Drake returns to retrieve her keys, she is attacked once again by Coach Willis.
I've always wanted to do that.
He stabs her in the hand.
And I want to point out an awesome line, that's in this scene. Mm-hmm. When Coach Willis is like blocking her exit while she's in her office. At one point, after trying to get him to move, she says, "There's a fine line." Or what's she say? "Harassment is a fine line," which is like, I know this is the 90s. This isn't a fine line situation. He's like boxing her into a room, and she's like, "Hey, this is a really fine line towards harassment."
Yeah, it's like you boxing me in a room. This is kind of sus, bro. Like
this is almost like this is kind of vaguely threatening.
Yes, exactly. Drama teacher Miss Olson emotionally stabs Drake with scissors as she tries to flee from the school. Now, Mrs. Olsen, played by Piper Laurie, who you may or may not know was Carrie White's mom in the movie Carrie. She looks quite a bit older in this movie, obviously.
Yes.
Although she did look rather haggard in Carrie, but that was probably a specific choice on Brian De Palma's part.
Yeah.
And after that scene, the title card appears as the instrumental from Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 plays, which I thought was very good little mood foreshadowing there.
I don't know if you looked this up. I might have to over the course of this. Who's all in that? I think Lane Staley is singing.
Yes, Lane Staley, the drummer from Matchbox 20, which is I'm just like, I didn't even know that guy, like who contacted that guy.
Yeah, real supergroup.
Oh, and Tom Morello was in there too.
That makes sense.
And okay, so the producer of Matchbox 20 was in the band.
That's such a producer move. To be like, oh, right? let's get all the biggest like rock stars today, and then I'm also in a band with them.
Yeah. Also, Stephen Perkins of Jane's Addiction as the drummer, and Martin Lenoble of Porno for Pyros as the bassist. So
that is aggressively 90s.
Aggressively 90s, absolutely. And was this one of the last things Lane Staley did before he
I was just thinking that must have been.
Yeah, because I know he was pretty much done with should say done, quote unquote, with Alice in Chains, but because he died in 2002, so he died pretty shortly after this.
Yeah. Have you ever seen any photos of him, like right in the last year or so of his life?
Oh yeah, he was weighing like what 95 pounds or something. Like
I saw one time, and I remember thinking that is the oldest punk rocker I have ever seen.
And that's saying something.
He's like in his 80s.
Yeah, that's saying something. Holy fuck! Rest in peace, Lane Staley. Rest in peace.
Friend of the pod.
Exactly. The following morning, the students arrive to school, including Casey Connor, played by Elijah Wood, as we said earlier, the dedicated but perpetually harassed photographer for the school newspaper, which was the little line I got from Wikipedia, and I'm like, that's perfect. Casey is the unappreciated assistant to spiteful Delilah Prophet, played by Jordana Brewster, and once again, her film debut. And as you can tell immediately, Casey is just like, hey, it would be really cool if I could be your assistant, ooh woo, because he clearly has a crush on her as being the dweeby little nerd in this movie.
And she's like, yeah, you can be my assistant, but don't like tell anybody or like hit on me. And also, you need to get beat up every hour.
Yeah, exactly, right. You need to be put in the dumpster. Delilah's mistreated boyfriend, played by Sean Hatosi, which was an actor that I'd apparently seen in a lot of movies, but only recognized him in this movie. So he's apparently a bit actor in a lot of movies.
He's got a very blend into a crowd face. Sorry, yes, Sean.
He does. Not a bad looking guy, but not particularly like stand outish for sure. But he's contemplating quitting the football team to pursue academics because he's actually a really smart and like thoughtful guy who just doesn't want to be seen as a meathead all the time.
So, no joke, as silly as that sounds, I knew a couple of football jocks in high school like that were like secretly like sad and would like confide to me and my other friend who were kind of like really quiet, kind of introverted kids about just like wanting to like be able to talk about things during class. It was very strange. And then I saw that in this movie and I remember thinking, there really are people like that, huh? That's strange.
Oh, no, for sure. There are totally people like that. And also, as you and I mentioned before recording, Stan is very much an allegory for not Michael C. Hall. Michael C. Hall's Dexter. Who's the guy in the Breakfast Club?
Oh, fuck. I'm so bad with these. I can never remember these people's names except for, Ringwald.
Yeah, I'm
we'll have to pull it up.
Yeah, because I always get Anthony Michael Hall. That's it.
Anthony Michael Hall.
His character in the Breakfast Club, because nearly every main character in this movie, except for one that we might get to in a little bit, they all have very distinct and clear allegories with characters from the Breakfast Club. And Delilah is obviously very markedly similar to Molly Ringwald's character in The Breakfast Club.
And this might sound hack, but it's actually
actually not Anthony Michael Hall's character. I'm sorry, I meant Emilio Estevez's character.
Emilio.
So Anthony Michael Hall's character is most to Elijah Wood's character. That's what I meant.
Yeah. So, and I know that might sound like hacky if you haven't seen this movie, and maybe if you do see it. But it really is, it works really well because it's almost a one-to-one Breakfast Club, but they are updated to be like Gen X-y kids, more Gen X-y in 90s. And then it is just like, let's take the Breakfast Club and plaster Invasion of the Body Snatchers on top of it.
And the thing on top of it too.
Yes.
Like it's, they when that very shitty Rotten Tomatoes summation where they said rip off of other sci-fis. No, it's an homage. It's not a rip off, it's an homage. And a very, very faithful homage. I'll just say that.
Yes.
Zeke Taylor, played by Josh Hartnett, who is probably the weakest analog to a character from The Breakfast Club.
He's not as fucked up as Statler. Yeah.
No, not even as close to Judd Nelson's character in that movie at all. He's actually like a pretty nice and like affable guy.
Pretty normal guy.
I would argue maybe the single most normal guy out of them, to be honest.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, Casey's just awkward because he's a kid. Zeke, pretty normal guy. I did want to say, because your intro to Zeke is that they're in, it must be an English cast, because they're talking about Robinson Crusoe, and they ask a question about it, and he gives this really thoughtful, analytical answer, and it's that's your setup that like Zeke is actually really smart, like and contemplative. Which is nice, but my first thought was he knows the answer because he's taken the class already because he's in his second senior year. So exactly. Like, of course he knows it.
Exactly. But Josh Hartnett, Zeke Taylor plays an intelligent yet rebellious student repeating his senior year.
That's me.
Exactly, and that was also me. I was a very, very big fail student. I actually wasn't. But I was definitely more an Elijah Wood analog in real life. But yes, Zeke sells, among other illegal items, a powdery ecstasy-like drug he manufactures and distributes in a pen.
What do you think that is?
I think it was a combination of like caffeine pills and a handful of other like over-the-counter amphetamines.
It's because it bothered me the whole time. Because
although it does have to have something like caffeine in it because it is a strong diuretic, and that is very, very prominent element to the plot later on. But
the thing that bothered me, and we're going to jump ahead, is that later on there's a point where Zeke himself takes it, but the implication when you finally find out that it's like caffeine, because it's something in a vial that you snort, is that he's selling bogus like household products to like dumb kids, right?
Oh, for sure. Yes.
But then he also like takes it and starts giggling, which is not a way that any sort of drug like that would make you act anyways.
Oh no, for sure, absolutely. Included in the pantheon of fake drugs for movies.
This drove me crazy. What is that supposed to be? Yeah, upper, a downer? Is it?
I think it's definitely supposed to be an upper. I that's what I would think.
Yeah, but then they're giggling later on. Like we'll get to it, but they giggle like like they're stoned on that '70s show.
Yeah, or like they're on like fucking LSD or something. It's very bizarre. Yeah. He is confronted by a teacher by Miss Burke, once again played by Famke Jensen, who expresses concern for him over his illegal activities, and let's just say there's some tension here.
There is tension between them.
Tension that in most states would be illegal.
I hope it works out for those two crazy kids. We don't know how they end up after this movie, but I hope that it worked out for
them. Zeke, you cannot conduct personal business on school property.
Well, Miss Burke, we have a problem because I'm sitting on my car and that's my property.
Well, I've had complaints from several students that you've sold them mind-altering substances. Now, you want to tell me about it, or take it up with Principal Drake?
You're too tense, Miss Burke, but I've got just the thing for you.
You know, Zeke, I'm the authority figure here. It's time you realize that.
For gentle relief of blockage caused by dietary stress, chocolate-flavored laxatives.
You know, if you applied just 5% of that intellect to your studies...
Not a chocolate lover, huh?
You could have made up your finals last summer. You didn't have to repeat your senior year.
How about these? Condoms. Magnum-sized. And they're cherry-flavored. Oh, come on, Miss Burke. They're on me.
Oh god, I bet Mary Kay Letourneau watched that scene and she's like, you know what? This is good shit.
This is romantic as fuck.
Yeah. By the way, definitely do not rest in peace her because she died recently. Rotten hell, for sure.
Friend of the pod.
Yeah,
So.
friend of the pod, Mary Kay Letourneau, for sure. And lastly, for the main character set here, out of the six, naive transfer student Mary Beth Louise Hutchinson, played by the actress Laura Harris, who I have not seen her in anything else other than this movie. And I looked her
I
up,
swear to God, I have.
and
I know I have.
she was a TV actor in the early 2000s, but that's really about it.
She's in like Scrubs or something. I don't know what it was, but it was driving me crazy.
She was in 24. She was in 24.
That I've not seen.
She was not in Scrubs that I remember. She definitely.
Oh.
Yeah, she definitely wasn't Elliot, if that's who you're thinking.
No, I knew she was an Elliot. I for some reason she was giving me vibes like one of like JD's like arc girlfriends who he has for like a handful of episodes. I thought
maybe I'll look it up later because I didn't recognize like.
I mean, maybe not, but because it was driving me nuts. I was like, I know I've seen her in shit. It's something that I watched a million times, but I can't think of what it was.
Maybe it is a faculty. Maybe it's just a faculty, like because she's not a particularly like distinct looking girl. Like she honestly kind of reminds me in this movie of like a Kirsten Dunst or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good kind of one-to-one there. Yeah, maybe it is just this. I'll find out.
Yeah, like I'm looking at her IMDb page right now, and I just don't see anything that we would recognize as the viewers of the obsessive viewers,
the
of
millennials that watch too
are.
much TV that we are.
Yeah, exactly.
The latchkey kids we were.
But Mary Beth Louise Hutchinson befriends self-styled outcast Stokely Mitchell. Actually, I totally forgot that was the last person on here. Stokely.
Yeah, I was gonna. That was my girlfriend when I was in like fifth grade.
I think that was every.
Like, of course,
nerdy guy's crush back in the day was
of course
was the goth person young lady who everyone thought was a lesbian, but actually wasn't.
Who could beat up your bullies for you?
Exactly. And Delilah has deliberately spread rumors that she's a lesbian, although she actually has a crush on Stan. Which I think is the biggest retcon in history because I think her being a lesbian would have been a much better character turn. I'll just say that. Or just a characterization. Would have been much better characterization for her.
And then it's like you think that Delilah's lying about it, but then she's like, I am a lesbian.
Yeah, that would have actually been really powerful queer art. But I do understand this was the late 90s. Things weren't necessarily that, And of course, as we mentioned earlier, Kevin Williamson did write this film, and he's been an openly gay man for 30 years. There is a lot of homophobia from Delilah Prophet, including a lot of very choice language, but I think it's mostly a pass because, once again, so it was the late 90s. It was written by a gay man. I think we can mostly kind of let a lot of.
And there is this might sound dumb. There is like a sensibility to like a type of horror comedy that is oftentimes written by gay men. If you look at like Child's Play, or of course early John Waters films have horror elements. And I think this is right in line there. I mean, that might be a generalization. Maybe that's a dumb thing to say, but
yes, exactly. And also Stokely is definitely most similar to Ali Sheedy's character in The Breakfast Club. So we have now rounded up the Breakfast Club cast, except for Mary Beth. I wonder who she could be most related to. Definitely the principal in that movie, I think. A lot of similarities.
Well, they look exactly alike.
They do, yes. Very, very much so. Mary Beth develops a crush on Zeke, and that was just a note I had in there. I don't know if that leads anywhere, but that was just a note that I had in here.
Not really. It doesn't really.
Yes, exactly. A bunch of scenes happen of various classroom scenes. We were talking about Zeke earlier. We talked about Delilah being homophobic, just sort of like filler scenes that happen before eventually Casey goes into the football field trying to document a story, and he finds a strange little creature on the football field and takes it to a science teacher, Mr. Edward Furlong, not the Edward Furlong from T2, but, Robert Patrick, of course, did play T-1000 in that movie, so Edward Furlong is very funny. I'm sure that was purposeful. Who Mr. Furlong is played by a guy named Jon Stewart.
Then nothing came of that guy.
Yeah, that guy was really weird. Kind of handsome, but like
he's the groomer. He's always telling them why they need to vote for Obama.
Yeah, that guy's had a very strange and not very problem,
Yeah, I don't know. Where did he end up?
I don't know.
He
so
was in
Death to Smoochie. He was in Death to Smoochie, but that was about it. But yeah. Yeah, he's definitely not a strong character in this movie. Although hilariously enough, this movie was released on Christmas of 1998, and he started on The Daily Show like a couple months after this. So this was like
this is cemented. Oh, if he had known that was going to happen, he probably wouldn't have taken such a big role.
He probably would not have taken.
Now his non-actor cred is just cemented in this movie.
Exactly. But Mr. Furlong believes it is a new species of cephalopod, a specific parasite called a mesozoan.
See, I don't recognize its surface tissue at all. Casey, I don't want to blow smoke everybody here, but I think you found a new species.
Yeah, right.
Hey, it could happen. New species are discovered every day. Don't be so cynical.
Could it be Naphostimolida?
Nah.
They escaped detection till the mid-20th century.
You just know everything.
I'm a contradiction.
Check the mesodermic follicles on its underbelly.
What does that mean?
It means we gotta call the university, let them take a look. Maybe even get in on some of that federal grant money. Our secret.
Which I'd never heard of before, and I don't want to because it looks horrifying in the movie.
I hope they're real.
Exactly. And at some point, he's playing with it. It has like tendrils come out. It infects his finger, and he's like, shit, don't tell anybody about this. And it's like, why you're a teacher? Why are you putting your fucking hand in this thing? Like, it's just
and weird. It multiplies as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Very strange. Later on, Delilah and Casey hide in the teacher's lounge to document another story. And also before
that's just a thing Delilah does is that she like busts the teacher. It's alluded to that she ran a story about one of their teachers' wife having an affair and him having a drinking problem.
Yeah.
And they just ran that in the school paper, I guess.
Yeah. Just a little minor note here. Usher has a very minor role in the story as the guy who takes over Stan's choice as the captain of the football team, and also as one of the bullies of Casey, of course. And at one point, and this is once again just before Delilah and Casey hide in the teacher's lounge, but Stan is taking a shower, and one of the teachers comes in just all diseased, falling apart. And honestly, a really good practical.
This is such a scary scene. Yeah, the effects are great. It feels just gross, just like not like in a shameful way. It's just like the effects are so good, and they look like you can imagine what he touches her hair, and it kind of her scalp falls off with all this stringy old lady hair, and you could imagine how that would feel. It just running through your hands and like in the school shower.
Ugh. But exactly. And as Delilah and Casey are waiting in the teacher's lounge, they see, or they witness Coach Willis and Miss Olson forcing one of the parasites into the ear of the school nurse played by Salma Hayek. They also find the body of another teacher, Mrs. Brummel, who didn't survive due to her being too old and sick. And that was what the aliens who are taking over the teachers had said. Sorry to spoil it, but we're going to get that shortly anyways.
If you hadn't guessed.
Exactly. Casey and Delilah flee, and Casey calls the police, but his claims are dismissed, including we see that the teachers infected one of the cops, and they're just slowly infecting everybody who they can get into a room and corner. It's horrible. The aliens are taking over!
It's pretty good, tense stuff for it. It's obviously it's nothing new, and the movie pretty strongly alludes to Heinlein and to Finney and things directly, because there's a thing about Stokely being like a sci-fi novel fan, which is also why I thought she was hot, because she likes Heinlein, who doesn't have any problems at all.
No, absolutely not, for sure. Probably the greatest author of our time and greatest opinions of all time. So
bulletproof.
Yeah. So next scene we have here. This is one I've been saving for a while, and Brian, I know you're going to love this. So, of course, after Casey calls the police and his claims are dismissed, he gets picked up by his parents. And who is his dad?
Shooter.
Yes, Christopher McDonald, who played Shooter McGavin in Happy Gilmore, and he plays a shithead dad in this movie.
So good to see him again.
It
With
really
a weird,
is.
bad goatee that just looks disgusting.
It looks really bad.
It makes me gag when I see it. Come on, Shooter.
Oh, God. I think that was the piece of shit he ate for breakfast was still on his face.
It's stuck to his face.
Yeah.
You're in big trouble, though, pal. I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast.
You eat pieces of shit for breakfast?
No.
Oh my God.
But of course, I alluded to earlier, Casey's parents don't believe him and they punish him thinking that he's making it up because he wants attention or he's on drugs or something or another, including taking his porno mags. Horrible parenting.
That's abuse.
Abusive. The next day, Casey tells Delilah, Stan, and Stokely he believes the teachers are being controlled by aliens. And they're all like, yo, bro, shut the fuck up. That's
dumb. That's stupid.
Yeah, stupid. Delilah's just sort of like, yeah, it was weird, but probably not aliens. You're being stupid, bro. As I believe she says in the movie, she calls him bro. Many other scenes happen, alluding to the gradual takeover of the school by the aliens, and including once again, Usher has been made the captain of the football team. Miss Burke confronts Zeke in the parking lot, and now this is just a pure groomer.
This is weird. This is a strange scene.
Oh, very fucking strange.
She's got like a crop top on.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna insert a clip of that in here because oh boy, it's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Oh, check out Miss Burke.
Oh, man, I'm really not in the mood, Miss Burke. I'm clean. Not today. It's too damn hot, and I got zero fucking tolerance.
Eat me, you asshole. I'm the one with no tolerance. You pathetic little runt.
Ouch. Come back.
What are you gonna do? Are you gonna call my mother?
Oh, and how am I supposed to do that, little Zeke boy? Do you even know where she is? Europe, Sri Lanka, Japan. I wonder what remote location she went to this week to hide from her great, big, bastard mistake. I've taken your shit for too fucking long. You dickless, drug-induced excuse for a human being.
Oh, woman, what are you on?
Woman. Did you just say woman? I'm sick of you, little boy. And if I have to see you peddling your little wonder dust again, I'm gonna shove my foot so far up your ass, you'll be sucking my toes till graduation.
She got some bad shit.
The aliens are taking more students one by one. At one point into the nurse's office to, of course, put the parasites into them. And then one of the teachers, played by the Commandant Spangler of Malcolm in the Middle, he's like, all right, students, write all the names of everybody in your family and everybody you know for an assignment. And it's like,
and everyone just does it.
And everyone just does it. Before Columbine, schools were just different, weren't they? Like,
yeah. I mean, no kid is like, hey, why do I need to do this? This is like a history class. He says, write down the names of all of your family members, starting with your immediate relatives who live in the state that you live with and moving out to those who are nearest.
It was just...
Nobody's like, why?
Yeah, like, why exactly? Yeah, it's just very, very strange. But it was a pretty funny scene, of course.
It is good.
Okay, class, listen up. Today, we are going to write a living family history. Everyone take out a piece of paper and write down the name of every living member of your family. Begin with your immediate family, those living with you. Then include the names of your nearest living relatives.
Is this gonna be on the test?
This is the test.
After Zeke and Mary Beth tease the rest of the gang about their theory, Mr. Furlong attempts to infect them because, of course, he got bit earlier when he decided to put his hand in the aquarium with the parasite.
This thing, he didn't know what it was, and he's just going to take a little feel of it.
Just bizarre.
Bad teacher.
Exactly. And then while they're trying to fend off Mr. Furlong, Zeke injects his homemade pen stimulant, caffeine, something,
I checked just a moment ago. Wikipedia describes that whatever that magic dust is as ecstasy-like, which I don't think it is. I don't get any indication that's like ecstasy from the film.
I don't think so either. It's very strange. But they stab it into his eye and it incapacitates him. I actually put killing him. But there is a post-credit scene that shows that Mr. Furlong is actually alive at the end of the movie. Which I did not actually know that for a very long time.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I tuned out before that. Damn.
Yeah.
Like what?
And then immediately after that scene, there is a line that Gabe says to one of the characters. I think it was Stan, and I don't remember the exact line, but I'm definitely putting it in here because it was extremely hilarious to me. Just something like I don't even remember. I'll put it in there somewhere.
Sure you don't want to play with us? Nah, Gabe. But thanks.
Zeke takes the Gang of Five to his house. I believe that was a better band than the Gang of Four, but I could be wrong about that.
Gang of Five or Gang of Four were they just needed an extra guitarist.
Yeah,
pull it all together.
Where he takes them to his lab where he's creating this thing. It's got like beakers and everything. Is he Walter?
Meth lab?
Yeah, is he like Walter White or something? Like just
is Zeke selling meth to his like classmates? Because that is not cool. Like
yeah,
it changed the way I viewed the character.
Yeah, it's like, hey Dad, I'm home, and it's just Walter White walks in the door. He's like, I learned it from you, Dad. Like it's just weird.
Well, my other thought was like when Stokely says, asks what it is coming up, he says mostly caffeine, some other household products, and I was like, what, like bleach? Like what are you giving people? Like what does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's just a little bit. It's just a little bit of shout. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Shit.
Where Zeke experiments on a specimen retrieved by Casey, and he discovers it needs water to survive because it is an aquatic creature, but it can be killed by the drugs, which, of course, as I mentioned earlier, it is a diuretic. So diuretics are known to dry you out. So if you pour it on something that needs water, it is going to dry it out, like an escargot or something like that.
Always a good time pouring
exactly.
salt on animals.
Zeke makes everyone take the drugs to prove they are uninfected, which is extremely similar to the scene in The Thing where they test the blood.
It just is, yeah.
And it's a pretty good version of that scene though, because it is markedly tense. Everybody's getting quote unquote high off this thing, and at one point Zeke goes like, "He's tweaking. Just let him fucking tweak."
Now what the hell's wrong with him?
Nothing's wrong with him, you asshole. He's tweaking. Let him fucking tweak.
I wanted to point that out too when Elijah Wood snorts this stuff and starts geeking out, and then who is it? Is it Stan points the gun at him because he doesn't know what's happening, and then he goes, "He's tweaking. Just let him tweak." And it's like, what is this drug?
Yeah, exactly. And at one point, everybody except for Mary Beth and Delilah are the last ones, and Delilah decides to pour it out. And she is, of course, revealed to be the infected, and she destroys Zeke's lab and most of his drug supply before escaping because she jumps out of a window or something.
Yeah. The big game is tonight, right? This is this is the event where the parasites are going to get the whole town. So this is the hero's last chance to stop it.
Exactly, and as Casey surmises, the entire world will be taken over within a week. Or at least within a week. At least a week, there will be nowhere to run, he says.
That's a little more plausible.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been 2 weeks on this Ohio town and then a week in the world.
Yeah, exactly, right. Acting on Stokely's speculation that killing the alien queen will revert everyone back to normal, the group returns to the school where, as Brian mentioned earlier, the football team is playing and infecting opposing players. And Gabe, once again played by Usher, is just destroying everybody.
Just massacring these kids. Just breaking their legs.
Breaking their legs, necks, CTEs out the wazoo. Just horrible stuff. And they believe Principal Drake is the queen, so they isolate her in the gym and fatally shoot her when she refuses to take the drug.
That's a pretty tense scene, yeah.
It is. And of course, they're like, "Oh shit, we fucked up," and then immediately she turns into the alien. It's like, well, it's fine, I guess we're fine.
That is a stressful scene.
It is, yes, absolutely. And at one point, Stan decides to go out to the field, and he's like, "Oh no, I could talk them out of it. It'll be fine." So he confronts the football coach and the team to see if their plan worked after after they killed the principal. But then they see they're just chilling out in the rain like turkeys with their mouths open, and he's like, no, I think we're fucked."
Just absorbing all the water.
Yeah,
their faces open up. It's pretty cool. Even the CG in this movie, pretty well done, pretty tasteful, I think, for the time.
I agree. It is once again late 90s CG, but they use it very sparingly. So definitely not bad in my opinion.
Yeah.
But of course, Stan becomes infected. Infected Stan explains the motivations for why being taken over by aliens is good, because he goes up to the door and he's like, "Let me in, everything's fine." And they're like, "Oh, come on, bro, you just got infected." He's like, "No, really, I'm fine, let me in."
No, I'm better. I'm the most normal I've ever been.
Yeah, but he talks about their motivations for being taken over by aliens. Like, "You don't understand. It's like a world with no fear, and like everybody loves each other, dude."
Open the door. It is so much better. There's no fear or pain. It's beautiful. And you will be beautiful. You'll be beautiful. No problems or worries. We want you. I want you. I want you. Now open the fucking door! Open the door! Go a fucking way, Stan! It's too late, Stokely. We've already won.
No pain, Stan? Come in here and I'll show you some fucking pain!
So my question about that, how they say that sometimes, I think Stan says it here, and then later on Delilah says it to Casey. Do you think how much of that is the kids still in there? Because they know things about the kids. Like Delilah says, "I haven't been this happy since before my dad died," or something. Do you think there is a feeling of bliss, or do you think that's all? I have to assume that's all just a lie, that it's like anguish, and that the aliens are saying that.
I assume it's anguish, because, and I don't want to spoil it necessarily, because I will get to that very shortly. But I will say my feelings. I do think it's anguish.
Okay.
But Zeke and Casey are able to escape the gym, and they go to Zeke's car to try to get more drugs. Casey tries to lead the football players who are infected, and chases them away from Zeke while he's getting drugs out of the car. Because there's actually a scene earlier in the movie where I think he like runs out of the school and he's like, "Oh, you'd be good on the football team." So he basically like is able to outrun the entire football team.
But he only believes you should be run if you're being chased.
Exactly. When Zeke is getting the drugs out of the car, he encounters Miss Burke again. And she wants to fuck this time. Like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. She is going to not statutorily rape, but definitely weird power dynamic rape situation going on.
It is the 90s.
It is the 90s, exactly. And to be fair, in this movie, he is 19, so it's not illegal, just extremely unethical.
Yeah.
Hello, Miss Burke.
Hello, sweetie pie. What are you looking for?
Nothing important. So I take it you changed your mind about the chocolate laxatives?
Actually, I had my heart set on something cherry flavored. You know what I mean?
Sorry, I'm all out of those. I have something else for you, though.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Something tasty.
Let me hook you up.
And he incapacitates her by crashing his car into the bus, and her head pops off. And it's very reminiscent of that scene once again in the Thing, with the head pops off and it's got like little crab legs and it goes everywhere.
But it's a good summation of like all the peak Thing effects for like a generation of kids who are maybe they're assuming you're just too young to have seen the Thing, and they're kind of tailoring it to that audience. Pretty good recreation of not as good as in the Thing.
Oh no, for sure.
Of those iconic things.
Absolutely. At the gym, after Zeke and Casey are able to get back to the gym along with Stokely because she's also alive, she decides to just chill out on the bleachers with Mary Beth, and she's like, if they weren't the queen, who could it be? And she's sitting behind the queen the whole time because it is Mary Beth.
Mary Beth.
Ooh! That was, by the way, a twist that even as a young child, I'm like, or as like a teenager, I'm like, oh, it's Mary Beth. It's got to be.
Yeah, because she's the new kid. It would make so much sense that she arrives in tandem with the aliens.
I mean, plus she's from the South. You can't trust people from the South. I'm sorry.
No, she's just too nice and too patronizing.
But it shows a flashback earlier on when they were all testing the drugs at Zeke's house. She faked taking the drug. Ooh.
Also, when she does that, they're all snorting these vials, right?
Yeah.
And then she opens hers at the bottom when everyone goes to snort, and it all pours out. Nobody noticed. Also, but when they show that scene, her in the flashback, her little alien tendrils are coming out of her fingers. Fucking nobody at all noticed that.
Maybe they were all tweaking and stressed out. Who knows? Maybe
they were tweaking, and she let them tweak.
Exactly. But Casey and Stokely flee to the swimming pool where Stokely is injured and becomes infected. Unfortunately, she gets fucked up. She gets her fucking head slammed into the pool floor,
and we see this giant, in parasite form, not in pod person form of the aliens. Pretty cool looking. In water, it looks kind of hokey, but you see it in practical effects, and right as it rises from the water, it looks pretty fucking cool for a 90s monster.
Exactly. Oh, and yes, Mary Beth is the queen. Once again, we need to reiterate that she jumped into the pool and she shows her true form as the giant queen.
It's so good.
It is very good. Zeke and Casey hide in the locker room where Mary Beth reverts back to her human disguise, where I think part of the R rating was there was a little bit of shielded nudity. But she explains she is taking over the Earth because her own planet is dying. Which
environmentalist message.
Exactly. Who are the real monsters in this scene? But
in my world, Casey, there were limitless oceans as far as the eye could see. Beautiful home till it started to dry up. So I escaped. Came here. I met you. All of you. All of you were different from the others.
Thanks, pal.
You were lost and lonely, just like me. And I thought that maybe I could give you a taste of my world. A world without anger, without fear, without attitude. Where the underachiever goes home at night to parents who care. The jock can be smart, the ugly duckling beautiful, and the class wuss doesn't have to live in terror. And the new girl, she can just fit right in with people who are just like her. You see, Casey? Even Mary Beth's feelings can be hurt by a bunch of pathetic, lost little outcasts who truly believe that their disaffected, lonely life is the only way they can survive. I can make you a part of something so special, Casey. So perfect. So fearless. Don't you want that, Casey?
I'd rather be afraid.
Fine. All right. Have it your way. Because this is where your land of fiction gets it right. We win. End of story.
But Mary Beth transforms back into her true self once again and hurls Zeke across the room into the lockers, knocking him out. Casey seizes the drug and traps the queen behind retracting bleachers as he's running away, which is also a very cool set piece scene.
Yeah.
And while the queen is trapped in the bleachers, he stabs the drug into the queen's eye while saying something like, "This is sure to fuck you up," or something like that.
Guaranteed to jack you up.
Guaranteed to jack you up.
That's it. Yeah, guaranteed
to call back to when we first meet Zeke, he's selling his homemade drugs to some burnout kids. And they say, "Is it real?" And he says, "Guaranteed to jack you up." Yeah. It's a nice little callback.
Exactly. And just as he's injecting her with the drugs, he gets momentarily infected. It looks really gross. He's got like parasites going into his cheek.
It's gnarly.
And also, interesting fact is that out of the 6 main cast members, Zeke is the only one who actually never ends up getting infected at all. So
he deserves it. That's our hero.
He is our hero. He is also the main person on the poster. I think with
he's right in center.
I think isn't it Zeke and Usher? I'm pretty sure Usher's on the front.
No,
too.
Usher is one of the dominantly featured people, and it's so stupid.
Oh,
he's in maybe 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, it's Zeke played by Josh Hartnett and Usher immediately on the opposite side.
Yep.
And he's barely in the movie once again.
Yeah. The faculty starring Usher.
Exactly. But Casey returns to the locker room and finds Stokely and Zeke still alive. So that's good, of course. 1 month later, everything has returned to normal. Stan and Stokely, who has shed her goth image, are now dating. Once again,
that kind of sucks.
That sucked. That sucked assholes. I'm sorry.
Lame.
Terrible. That almost ruined the movie for a lot of people. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's fucking dumb.
Very, very stupid. You know what? You can date the academic football guy and still be a goth. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's not like, I mean, he stopped being a football guy for a while because he wanted to be into books or I don't know. Yeah. Every girl that wears black is doing it because she's sad, not because she just thinks it's cool and it looks hot. She's broken inside, and when she's fixed, she'll wear floral dresses again.
Yes. If this movie had taken place 2004, she would have been wearing an Evanescence t-shirt. I guarantee it.
Yep.
But
that would have been sad.
Exactly. And as we see, once again, subversion of our expectations, but Zeke has taken Stan's place on the football team.
Yes.
Oh, shit.
That also kind of sucks. I mean, I'm not I'm past the phase of my life of being like anti-sports ball. I hate those people more than people that are really into sports at this point, but like, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone changes in a good way. I don't know. It's just dumb.
Exactly.
Doesn't ruin the movie because it's a silly movie, but it's
still pretty dumb. Yeah. While Miss Burke affectionately watches him practice, and by affectionately watch him practice, it means once again weird power dynamics that should not exist. We need to reiterate.
Biting her lips, her eyes are half closed.
She's like, "Oh God, yeah, this teenager who's half my age, I can legally bang." Very weird.
I taught him all about Robinson Crusoe.
Yeah. Very strange. Once again, this was the 90s, though. Delilah is now dating Casey, who is considered a local hero, as various news media outlets reveal the attempted alien invasion is now public knowledge, even as the FBI denies it.
I think the thing is, because it's all, big, it's time, and people are saying hero or hoax and all these things. And it kind of sounds like there may be kind of leaning towards it being towards it being a joke, but it's all kind of ambiguous. And then the top one is their school newspaper that Delilah's the editor-in-chief of the town hero. It's cute. That's a nice little ending. I like it.
It is. And that is where the movie ends. Nice little ending. It also has just a little credit sequence where we show some of the fates of some of the survivors.
I missed it. I got to go back and watch them.
And the very last one is Mr. Furlong is still alive, just missing an eye and missing his fingers. So
I can't believe they did stingers, and all these years I've never known it.
And also something that may or may not trigger you, but the ending theme song of this movie, I would have to double check, but I'm 99% sure it's an Oasis song.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, this has to be Oasis. It's fucking gotta be.
It has to. It sounds exactly like Oasis. And if it wasn't Oasis, Oasis should sue because it sounds exactly like them.
It must have been. In fact, just real quick, let me go see.
Yeah, it would almost have to be, but I'm kind of curious too. The faculty.
Yeah, it's Oasis. It's
okay. It was probably off that one album that everybody hated, but
whoa. Sorry. The soundtrack ends, so it opens with Class of 99, not 98. Correction from earlier.
Yeah.
Doing Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 makes sense. It ends with Another Brick in the Wall Part 1. That's it. Those songs are really specific in what they're about. And Part 1 is about the Pink Floyd character's father dying in World War I.
Yeah.
Strange. Sorry, it's just weird to me that that's what they chose to do with it.
Oh,
instead of having Class of 99 cover different songs, maybe why don't they cover Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 and then School's Out?
Yeah, exactly. For sure. No, I think that would be fantastic. But All right, but yeah, without all that, our final thoughts before we get to the reviews. I fucking love this movie, and it gets better every time I watch it.
It's guaranteed to jack you up.
Yes, indeed, and guaranteed not to make you want to jack off. I hope, but I could be wrong about that.
Just the parasites when they're multiplying. It's kind of
Yes, exactly. And also, once again, Harry J. Knowles, you're hot as fuck, dude. I'm just gonna say that. I've thought a lot about that guy since then, but he's actually in he was actually like distinctly involved with the making of Freddy versus Jason, and that's where I was like, oh,
really?
That guy. Yeah, that guy was very prominently involved with the making of Freddy versus Jason. I think he was like one of the scriptwriters or something like that.
I did not know that. I actually really like that movie. I mean, I love the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I like that. I think that's a really fun movie, even though people hate it.
No, for sure. I totally agree with that. All right, but yes, let's get into
this guy.
Yeah.
Just looking at him, this guy.
He's a very interesting looking individual. I'll just say that. But yes, let's get into some Amazon reviews. So I found a couple choice Amazon reviews. So we'll get started with Miss Nocturna, who gave this movie 5 stars. And the header of her review says, "And I love films that focus on high school." That's it. That's the only header. And it's like, wait, and I love films? Like, was there?
Did she she accidentally edited the first? She wrote this really long essay review.
Yeah,
really analytical and thought out, and then somehow only posted just that last phrase.
Yeah, but the body of her review says, when video rental stores and VHS tapes were still quote unquote in. Feeling nostalgic now. The lady
when they still existed?
Yeah. The lady that I used to be rent VHS tapes from bought me a copy of The Faculty because I used to rent this movie every single weekend after school was out. Oh, interesting. Aww. Okay.
That's cute.
It's very cute. I was a big Elijah Wood fan back in the day, which led me to discovering this movie in the first place. And I love films that focus on high schools. Oh, there we go. Just that was a one choice quote, I guess. But
yeah,
this film has an enjoyable cast, but the vulgarity level at times is unnecessary.
How old is this person?
Well, she says
I know,
video rental store. She's got to be in her late 30s, early 40s.
Yeah, but it's really not a vulgar movie. I mean, except for the homophobia, I guess. If vulgar is the word you would use.
Yeah, but I highly doubt she means that kind of language.
Yeah,
I highly doubt that.
Yeah.
But still, it does not impugn how good this movie is. If you love aliens, this is a great film. Which, okay, that's another choice line to end the review on.
I want to see And I Love Movies About High School on the box art.
Yeah, right.
By Miss Nocturna.
Yeah. The next review here I have is from MJ. Maybe that MJ, I'm not entirely sure. That MJ was still alive when this review was written. Their review
that you compared her to Marianne.
Yeah. But they gave this movie 3 stars, and the header of their review also says 3 stars. And the body of the review says decent, corny but decent. And that's it.
Decent, corny but decent. I was just hearing Michael say it. And I love films about high school.
Yeah. Next review we have
rest in peace, friend of the pod.
Yes, once again, rest in peace, friend of the pod. Absolutely. Michael Jackson. I wish we could have had you on if you were still alive.
For real this time.
For real, yes. The next review is by Lori Kibbe, who gives this movie 1 star. And the body
Lori Kibbe?
Yes. Kibbe.
Awful name.
Yeah, terrible name. It almost sounds like Kibbles and Bits, but I guess Kibbe and Bits. But she gave it 1 star, and the header of her review says ripoff. And the body of her review says, I have tried to return the DVD that does not work, and they said I could not return it. And they will not send one that works. When I put the DVD in the player, it says I have to have a code to make it work. It should not have to enter a code to make the DVD work.
What the? Okay, this is an old person. I know they're a millennial. This is a millennial who is too old to know how a DVD player works.
Exactly, yes.
Because I thought it was going to be rip off, it's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's the thing. It's not even that.
Exactly. Yeah. It probably got a digital code or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was.
Oh, what was the digital copy? It was probably a digital copy of the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah,
1 star.
Yeah, 1 star.
Awful movie.
Terrible movie. And the last review I have here is from the glorious Inspector Gadget. Their username is just Inspector Gadget.
Okay.
And his review says 2 stars, nothing special. I'm not going to do the Inspector Gadget voice. Every time I think of that voice, I think of Mike Matei talking about that DVD menu from.
Oh my God! Yeah. Friend of the pod.
Yeah, friend of the pod, Mike Matei. Didn't he get canceled or something?
I mean, and then he was sort of quietly ushered out of Cinemassacre. Yeah, you look up some of his comics he did, and his like edgy comics that he did in college. They're pretty bad. They're also like, I mean, not that they're very racist, and they are very unfunny. But yeah, they're shockingly racist. I'll send them to you after this.
I mean, describing Mike Matei as shockingly unfunny is definitely not.
Well, that's redundant.
Yeah, very redundant for Mike Matei. That is.
But they are even for like the Times or whatever, like they are shockingly racist. They are. It doesn't feel like shock value. I don't know. I'll send them to you.
Bizarre. But either way, they give this movie 2 stars and they say nothing special. And the body of the review says there's nothing to recommend about The Faculty. And surprisingly, from the director of From Dusk Till Dawn and Desperado, it's very tame stuff. There isn't much gore. The rebellion factor is shockingly low. This is important in a movie like this. And the story is never fully developed and isn't up to much. The only thing that is good about this movie is Josh Hartnett. I think he's a very good actor.
Awesome.
And he should have been given more screen time. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
Oh, this review sounds like this guy's like a horror nerd, like kind of a gore hound. And then he's like, but I love that Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, Josh Hartnett. Oh my God, 40 days, 40 days, 40 nights. Oh man, that was the best movie I've ever seen. Or also, he was an H2O.
Oh,
yeah. Yep, Josh Hartnett was an H2O too. I forgot about that.
I haven't seen 40 Days, 40 Nights. I read the graphic novel when it came out. Good, scary.
And so Paul Rudd was in that movie too, wasn't he? Or who? No, wait.
Was he really? That's awesome. I don't know.
Yeah, Paul Rudd was in H2O, and also so was.
Oh, in H2O. I thought you meant 30 days. 40 Days, 40 Nights.
No, I'm talking about yeah.
Yeah, I remember him.
But yeah, Josh Hartnett was in 40 Days, 40 Nights. But and then who the fuck? Oh my God. Who the fuck else was in H2O? He was in H2O for like a minute. No, that was Busta Rhymes was in
Busta Rhymes
Resurrection.
I always get those two mixed up.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in H2O as well. Yeah, that movie is weird. Also, another connection, H2O was written by Kevin Williamson as well, actually.
That makes sense. I haven't seen that in many years, but that does make sense.
So funny there. And the last little bit of the review says, all you get on the non-anamorphic DVD is a trailer, Dolby 5.1, and a letterbox picture framed at some specs.
The non-anamorphic DVD?
Well, this movie this movie review is from the year 2000, I think. So that was still like specs, just trying to tell what like DVD specs or whatever. But
okay.
But except for the DVD specs, all I have to say is this.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
But yes, I do want to talk a little bit about the DVD thing, because I have this movie in both DVD and Blu-ray. Unfortunately, it does not matter which one you get, either the Echo Bridge or the non-Echo Bridge version of the DVD or Blu-ray. This movie is tragically bereft of any kind of special features on any release you can find.
Because the commentary on this from the main actors and like Kevin Williamson and Rodriguez would be so fun.
And the only thing there has ever been on any DVD or Blu-ray release I've ever seen is just the trailer. That's it. And in some releases, they don't even have subtitles. Like it's shocking how little anyone gives a shit about releasing this properly. It's sad to me.
Yeah, it feels like there's an audience for movies like this. At the time, there was an audience for movies like this. This is funny. It's got some relatively good scares, especially like if you're like, let's say like for like if you're like a kind of a younger teen and you don't necessarily want to watch like fucking, I don't know, Gerald's Game or whatever, but
yeah,
you know, there's good creatures. The actors are charming. Pretty much all of them are charming. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Very likable. You know, multifaceted, multidimensional characters. I think as you mentioned earlier, it's basically a John Hughes movie with Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Thing. Like, what could you go wrong with that?
Yeah, but it's like it's not trying to convince you. It's not that. It's very consciously upfront that. It's just...
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that this movie didn't do well at the box office, I think, is already a tragedy. But also the fact that it's never gotten a proper physical release is really, really tragic.
Like, that sucks. That's really surprising.
Yeah. So and I've looked for several different versions of this movie, and they just have no special features at all. So yeah, even though that guy's review was very terrible, his his noting of the lack of special features still rings true 20 plus years later.
So that's a good review, I guess.
I guess technically just by the specifications of it. But yeah, so that was the last review I had. I wanted to put that one in there because I thought it was the worst one by quite a bit. Even the one that the old lady was like, I can't get the DVD to work. That was still a better review than this.
Yeah. Frustrating.
Absolutely. So, but yes, once again, to the audience at home, I would 100% recommend this movie. As the first 90s movie we reviewed for the show, it is a classic. If you like teen horror, if you like body horror, if you like aliens, if you just love Elijah Wood and Josh Hartnett, you should watch this movie.
I'd even say if you like teen comedies, if you like coming of age, like kind of light coming of age movies, you'll probably have a lot to like in this. I mean,
exactly. And if you want to see the guy who ate pieces of shit for breakfast have the worst goatee you've ever seen in your life,
it's so bad. This movie. So bad. Any of my fellow Sandler aficionados, the Sand fans, just check out how Shooter looks in this. It looks like absolute dog shit. Maybe we should start a campaign and start tweeting at Rodriguez or Kevin Williamson about getting a proper release for this film.
I would be so down for that. If there is like a petition online, we should start it. Because this movie does deserve a proper physical release.
No, it would be so and don't you want to hear about how they made like the practical effects of the queen monster that Mary Ann turns into when she jumps into the pool and shit?
Yeah, because we didn't really talk about it too much in this review, but the actual giant monster effect is really good.
It's fucking cool looking. It's got a cool kind of scary grimaced face. It's massive. It's like it looks huge.
Yeah, either the CG or the practical one both look pretty good.
Yeah.
Although the physical one obviously looks the best, but
the CG one looks good too.
Exactly. And one thing I will say before we finish up here. So we were talking about the aliens and whether or not the whole we feel no fear or whatever thing.
Yes.
I do think that's mostly bullshit too. I think it's probably a very agonizing existence to constantly need to be in water all the time.
Yeah. That's what it wouldn't make sense to me that it would feel better, right? Because if it would, why would they have to trick people and prey on them? Like they're going to just approach you and be like, "Hey, check this out,"
Exactly, and infect people in extremely painful ways. We've seen everything from fucking putting parasites through people's ear canals, which Jesus Christ, or shooting like buckshot through somebody's face with parasites, or cut.
There's some cool deaths in this, guys. Like for real.
No, for sure, absolutely. But yeah, it's not particularly painless. So I don't know. It sounds pretty miserable.
Yeah.
Although it did give the strength for Usher to crush an entire football team. So that's something, I guess.
It's good to see. I'm so grateful that you told me that the opposing football team was the actual town kids.
Yeah.
I so hope that their parents were like, oh, my kid's going to be in the movie. And then they just saw Usher just clotheslining their kid, just headbutting them full on with his helmet on.
And I bet you those kids, like 5 years later, were dancing to Yeah in the club with
absolutely.
Like, oh shit, that guy destroyed me in football.
Then they had they started like having some sort of PTSD response to it and going, hike, I can't do it, coach.
Yeah. Oh shit. But yes, with that out of the way, this will be Taylor signing off. Once again, watch this movie.
Yeah, please do. It's Brian. And millennials are old.
Yeah, we're old as fucking shit. We're so old.
And this movie,
25-year-old movie.
Yeah, this movie is old as shit. This is like gonna be on Turner Classic soon.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everybody.
All right. Bye, guys.